So my name is Cameron Clay. I'm from PG County, Maryland. Um, at Temple, I studied film and media arts, and then I concentrated in directing my last 2 years. Next year, I will be attending Columbia University for film for directing, and I'm attending on a full tuition scholarship. Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like now it's changing. When I first started making films, when I was learning, I still learning, obviously. When I was like the first few times, I was trying to replicate what I saw in the movies that I liked, and I kind of saw the pitfalls in that. So now I try to draw inspiration from like the things that I personally experienced, that my family has personally experienced, and try to draw from everyday life in a way. I'm also really inspired by music as well. I think I pull a lot from the music that I'm listening to, and just like at least tonally, sometimes subject, but usually just the tone of the music kind of inspires me to make something that feels like how the music sounds. Uh, what captures my interest initially usually is when something feels authentic, like when it feels like I'm not forcing it, but it's coming from like a good place, and I always try to like create with love in mind. So when it feels like I'm coming from a place of love, I know I'm doing something right. So yeah. I'm an R&B head, so I listen to a lot of R&B acts. But I love hip hop. And I think the great thing about hip hop is a lot of times I feel like they're storytellers, and they're just telling stories in a way, um, like on the beat, obviously, and in a way that rhymes, obviously. But when you break it down to the fundamentals of storytelling, I feel like that's what they're doing. So a lot of times it inspires me because I'm like, that's not the same form, but you still tell the story. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty stressful, but I was working full time and I was in school full time. So when I was doing it, I remember kind of just being fed up with it and not even knowing if I wanted to go to grad school. I was so annoyed just because I had a billion things going on at once. Um, but really, when you're applying to art school, especially, it's really just about your voice. Like I feel like you don't even have to have the strongest portfolio, and that's what I was realizing throughout the process. I was like, how do I make them understand who I am on paper without like meeting me? So that was like the personal letter I felt I devoted a lot of time and energy to. And of course, like compiling the work that I made at Temple, at my time at Temple. And then the interview process, which I felt was super natural and super easy because they want to hear about you and the work that you're interested in making. And if this is what you're really put on this earth to do, it'll be really easy to talk about it. So I felt like it was just super easy once I got to the interview process. But the paper part was annoying. I'm not gonna lie. I think the person who I admire most is Barry Jenkins because it goes back to operating and creating from a place of love, and that's felt in the work and everything, even how he carries himself in interviews and dealings with people. If you hear anyone say anything about Barry Jenkins, he's a genuinely good person. And I think all things, as an artist, the work kind of comes second to being a person. I think that's kind of lost nowadays, but you have to be a good person first. You can make good work and be I don't know if I can cuss, but you can be a bad person and make really good work. But I admire when the person is reflects the art in a really good way. And I think the films that he makes depict Black people in a light I've never really seen on film or in cinema. And then this one from a place of genuine love and respect and dignity is the word that comes to mind when I think about his films, and just upholding that dignity of Black people on screen that moves me. Um, Actually, I'm gonna use this as an example. It was from my time at Temple. Was working on my senior thesis project, and I was having a conversation with my cinematographer, Kim, and he said something to me. We were talking. We were like going through and shot listing the film. This was one of our first meetings to kind of create the visual language for the film. So we were like shot listing and storyboarding together, going through the script. And at a certain point, I was like, I don't know if this is uh, if I'm going far enough, if I'm like, and I'm not taking big swings. And I said that to him. And I was telling him like, oh, on and on, but like, I don't know if this is enough. Like, are we being too cautious? Are we being too subtle? And he looked at me. He was like, you don't always have to shout. And I don't know why that resonated with me so well, but sometimes ideas are better served uh, with a gentle hand. I think a lot of times as beginning artists, we're a little too heavy-handed. I'm still very guilty of it myself, but it's something I'm trying to be more conscious of. So I think that's a good piece of advice. You don't always have to shout. You don't always have to be heavy-handed. Some things, especially art, can be a little delicate. I think if I was to be pessimistic, I would say that things are going to go back to how they were. I know from working on a few industry sets, like during the pandemic, people getting back to work, we were operating on 10-hour days. And I was talking to the crew, and it's like just guys and girls who have been working on sets for years, even decades. And I was like, how long do you think this is going to last? And their answer was about a few more months. And then we're going back to 12-hour days. We're going back to just like life as usual. I think socially, if I'm being hopeful, I think things are changing, especially to the work that's being produced. I think voices are getting so loud that they're kind of being hard to ignore. Um, like right now, I think movies about Black trauma, there's like been such a backlash with things that have come out recently that I think, crossing my fingers, this is hopeful, Cameron, but I think that things are going to get better and we'll see less of that and more money and resources poured into artists who actually have something to say. I don't I don't know if theaters are going to make a comeback, but with the screen being in your living room, even more so now as everyone's at home, I think more content is being created. So I think more voices are being invited into the room, which I think will be a good thing in the long run. That's difficult because I'm like right in the middle of it, like just trying to figure out what's what. But I think it's more of a life thing and not so specific to film or artistry. But it's being a good person. I feel like it always comes down to that. People like to work with people they like and people who are kind. So in learning, you're gonna make a billion mistakes. Your films are gonna suck at first. But if you're being a good person, the people are gonna want to help you and bring you along. And you need like anything, but I think film is just a very collaborative medium. You need other people to make good work. I feel like you should be a kind person just in general, but being a kind person will also help you make better work and become a better artist and better person. So I feel like just be kind to people. Yeah, so I have a bunch of things right now. I'm in post-production for my thesis film, Memnon, which is about a rapper's younger brother trying to finish his last verse after the rapper passes. So it's very, very intimate story, very personal story. So I'm in post-production for that now. I'm still editing that, very, very much still editing. We shot about a few weeks ago. But other than that, I'm writing, of course. I don't know if anything is at the point to talk about it. It's very conceptual, but yeah, I'm always writing, always trying to think of what I'm going to do when it comes to do larger, longer form content. So thinking about what my first feature is going to look like, what my first pilot that I write is going to look like. I'm actually working on a pilot with my friend FMA, who's also a Temple grad, screenwriting. screenwriting BFA grad. So I'm working on that with her, and just a bunch of things writing. I know with film school, I got to do a whole another round of film school, so that's gonna be a lot more work to go just in the portfolio. I just want to get better. So I'm the type of person, I believe in repetition and getting better through doing. So I just hope to make a bunch more films over the next few years and just get better. I want to tell stories that are indicative of the world that I grew up in, which is very Black and very full of love and very complicated still. So I want to make work that is hopeful, but is also critical, both of intra-community things and the society that we're dealing with. But I don't want to lose sight of the humanity of people. So I think I want to make work that is human and that may be critical in like in a distant sense. It might not be directly political, but I think the very act of depicting Black people on screen in a loving and a hopeful way, I think that's revolutionary in itself. So I guess that's the kind of work I want to make. I want to make portraits of Black people that show their full humanity. So I feel like we have a lot of work to do in terms of cinema history and in terms of restoring that, repairing that. Yeah, I want to give praise and shout out to everyone who came before me, whether that be my direct ancestors and those who are less direct, artists who have paved the way for me, people who have paved the way for me. I'm so grateful to be where I am, and it's all on the backs of their labor and their love. So, yeah.